Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you doing?
Hey,
Doing fantastic.
Yes, great. Excellent. So, what time is it there in New York, Nikita?
In New York, it's around 2 p.m., give or take a few minutes, depending on what clock you're looking at.
What have you gotten done so far?
Well, so far I've talked to a client. I've done some rough sketches. I've sent it to them. I've gotten a response. I've sent them back some more rough sketches. I've got another response, and I'm going to their office in a few hours after we're done here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it's a new freelance project that I just picked up literally a day ago. So
Oh, that's really helpful.
yeah, I love it.
And I had just noticed your shirt. Did you is that yours?
Yes, it is.
Oh, very nice. Travel.
That's right.
It's an ambigram. Very nice.
I'm not doing a handstand, but you'll have to take my word for it.
Very cool. So, what time is it there in Portugal, Vitória?
it's almost 7 p.m.
And what? So you're done for your day.
No, not really. I'm a night owl. So I'm getting started.
You're
Well,
just
not
getting
really,
started.
but yeah, it's a good time to work, and I usually work till 1 or 2 a.m. It depends.
So you're on our time.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a good time to work.
That's true.
And so what have you completed today, Vitória?
Well, whenever someone asks me that, I have to say I'm still working on my typeface.
But is there anything specific you can share in terms of your tasks today?
Well, I'm going over the accents. I have to place them properly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just need to go to check everything, because I wasn't aware of this, but some languages use more than one accent in the same word. In Portuguese, we don't have that. So accents should be placed properly at the same height,
Mm-hmm.
or sort of, so that it looks so that you have harmony. Because
Right.
it would look weird if one accent is higher than the other and you have two in the same word. That would just look weird.
Right. It has to be consistent. So, gosh,
Yeah,
that's a lot to
exactly.
consider. Well,
Yeah.
kudos to you for working on the typeface. Oh my gosh,
Thank
this
you.
is a
Exactly.
lot of work. A lot of work. So we're in here about 2 minutes early. Hello, guys. Thanks for joining us. Jason from Cupertino is here. Andre is an illustrator working on picture books and comics. Andre, let us know where you're from. And then Heather from Connecticut. Thanks for joining us. Yay. And then Heather, glad that you joined us for a live one. And Eric from Los Angeles, Chinatown, from what I remember. Bernardo from Philly. Yay, Rosie from Seattle. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Appreciate it. Let us know where you're calling in from today. Also, let everyone know we're just getting started. There's a share button underneath our video, somewhere down there somewhere. And let everyone know that we are going to get started. We're doing a little something different today. I thought, why not just change it up a bit? We're having more of a panel discussion today. So we have Vitória on and also Nikita, and they're going to share a little bit of their work so you get to know them a bit. But we're going to be asking questions to the whole group. And we also want to invite you guys to jump on. So if you have your computer with a video camera and earbuds with a mic, we would love for you to jump on and answer some of these questions. We might bring on one person for every 1 or 2 questions. And then also, we would also love to get some lettering challenges from everyone. Hey, Matthew from San Antonio is glad. Thanks for joining us. So if you guys have some ideas for some words or letters that you would like the panelists to quick draw, yeah, we're putting them on the spot today. Let us know. And if you want to participate, let us know and I will definitely invite you on. So welcome, welcome. All right. So yay, I'm glad everyone's in here. So hey, Ryan, how are you doing? Great for Alyssa. Thanks for coming. Excellent. So, and then Jim from Portland. I'm so sorry. I just read right past Jim. Well, thank you all for joining us at Typography Dojo. Today's session is about letter habits and practice, formal education versus self-taught, inspiration, and we're just going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. Joined today by Vitória Neves from Portugal. I was going to say Portland, but that's not really right. And Nikita Prokhorov from New York. So thank you all for joining us. I would like to ask both of you just for a small little snippet of introduction. I'm Rachel from Los Angeles, partner here at TypeEd. We do typography education. Vitória?
Yeah, I'm Vitória. So I'm from Portugal, and I'm a letterer and type designer.
Great. Nikita?
All right, and I'm Nikita Prokhorov, Russian-born, Connecticut-raised, and New York, currently freelance graphic designer, lettering artist, and pun maker.
Pun
Throw
maker.
that in there. Yes, bad puns, so don't ask me for examples.
Love that. So we'll start off with Vitória giving a little bit of a slideshow and talk about herself and show some of her work. And then we'll move into Nikita showing his work and talking about his work. And then we'll go into the questions. I hope that's good for you guys. And again, we're going to get started. So Vitória, if you want to get started, go ahead.
Sure. Can you see the slide fine?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, let's get started. So in this presentation, I'm going to show you a bit of my work and also talk about how I got into lettering. Well, I'm self-taught. I have no formal education in typography, lettering, or design, but I have always had a fascination with pens and letters. Just to give you an example, I actually bought a fountain pen with my very first pocket money. And in elementary school, I also had the chance to set metal type once. And these kind of memories, the memories I cherish the most from my childhood, are probably somehow related to letters. And I could continue giving you many more examples like this. However, I never felt I could do something with that professionally. And I guess it never really crossed my mind. And so I went to university and studied German, English, and Spanish languages and literature. And I also have a master in language teaching. So I used to be a teacher. I liked the teaching, but I didn't adore it. I have a huge respect for that profession. It's very demanding. But I needed to find something that would fulfill me. The letters, well, the passion for letters, which had been asleep during some time, came back to me when I got a dip pen from my boyfriend as a Christmas gift. And it's the one you can see in the picture. And that's also the first thing I wrote with it, despite not knowing how to use a pen like this.
Very nice.
So it looks awful, right?
It looks okay.
It's okay.
Better than what I could do.
Well, and so I read, no kidding, Calligraphy for Dummies. It might sound weird, but it's actually a very good book if you want to learn calligraphy. And it taught me the Italian and Gothic alphabets and also a bit of copperplate. As I was getting more and more into learning about letters, read some more books, searched the web, I got into lettering. I was influenced by many letterers like Jessica Heisch, Martina Flor, well, the usual suspects. I would spend 2 hours at least every day just practicing, usually a lot more, like honestly, almost every waking hour. Sometimes I would just trace over typefaces just to get used to hold a pencil again, and also to study the letter forms, to understand how they were done. When I started to feel a bit more comfortable with drawing letters, I started to draw my own without referencing any typefaces at all. These images were taken from my sketchbook. Okay, here you can also see some digital pieces I did. These are some of the first digital pieces that I did. And I always start working on paper, scan the sketches, and then redraw everything on Illustrator with the pen tool. Brush pens also played a huge part in my practice sessions. For me, nothing beats a good brush pen. I really love them. So I would practice a lot using them and share everything on social media. During these, I would post at least one piece of lettering every day during 30, 100 days, or even a year. And everything would serve as an inspiration. The weather, a movie or TV show, music, my cat, well, everything. That's when I started to get a bit noticed and got my first clients. What you can see here are some wooden signs I did for a local wine bar. They were all done by hand directly on pine wood. Oh. This was a very, very fun project. Even though this is not the best picture, you can get the idea of how these were used. I did around 11, 12, and these are all Portuguese wine regions or types of wine. This is another project I did for the same client. I used After Effects to animate the lettering. So it's great to see my letters being used, and it's also nice to draw letters with a real purpose in mind. But there's always a but, right? I soon realized that even though it can be nice to get clients, I'd rather work on letters. So much time goes into finding or attracting clients, negotiating and all that stuff. A lot of time is invested in dealing with them, time in which I am not drawing any letters at all. And that's how I got into type design. I stopped taking any clients and started working on my first typeface a year ago. And it's not quite done yet. I also figured this would be a good way to learn more about letters and to dedicate myself even more to them. To me, letters are everything. Okay, almost. My typeface, the one you can see now, is based on my lettering. It's a connecting script, and these are just some proofs I did to test it. It has been a real challenge, but it also has taught me a lot. It's hard to learn how to do a typeface like this on your own, because there is not that much information available on how to make connecting typefaces. I have been very lucky though, and have met some very generous and kind people. The type community is just awesome, and if you are in it, you probably know this. Laura Worthington is one of those people. She has helped me a lot. We talked on Skype a few times, and she has taught me quite a few tricks. The video she mentioned when she was here on a typography dojo session actually taught me how to connect characters properly. So if you want to learn more about this, you might want to watch the replay. Another tremendous help has been my mentor, Nicole Doughton. Nicole and I met through the Alphabet's mentorship program. And if anyone watching is interested in getting a mentor, I can share the link later on. I totally recommend it. I think that getting a mentor is very important if you are serious about making a career in letters. And Nicole has offered me a lot of guidance and shared her knowledge and precious feedback. I have learned so much from her. I can't put into words how grateful I am to have met Nicole and Laura, and also other type designers who have given me feedback or encouragement. This all takes a lot of patience, and well, I think that if you are truly passionate, you're okay with being patient. Thank you for watching. And should you be curious about my work, you can find me on social media using the handle Vitória7. I have been writing about the process and progress of this typeface on Medium, and have also been sharing some pictures on Instagram. And also, if you want to exchange experiences or just say hi, whatever. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Vitória. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to close your screen, and then Nikita, go ahead and share yours.
Okay.
So Heather, I will share I'll share that Dojo link with you shortly.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me share my screen here. Hope everything works this time.
It will.
How's this? Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So this title is Ambergram and Lettering Samples. I don't know if everyone is familiar with ambergrams. They've become more mainstream over the last, 7, 8, 9 years. But I've gotten into them around 2007, 2008. This is, ironically, it's before I actually started doing hand lettering, so it was even more challenging because to that point I just had experience with traditional typography. And I didn't even get into custom lettering and ambergrams until a few years after grad school. So ambergrams are words that can be read from a different perspective and can still be read as the same word. For example, if any of you want to take a look at this, either turn their computer upside down or do a handstand, you'll see that this says karma. As it does one way, it says karma the other way. Here's another example I drew, which is with Bruce. For me, most of my ambergrams are just works, personal works or gifts for friends. I do get some commissions for them as well. But I also, aside from ambergrams, which is a very rare animal, I also do traditional hand lettering. And the way I got into hand lettering is, as I mentioned, a few years after graduate school when I realized I had that epiphany that, hey, I could actually develop and draw my own type rather than modifying even an existing one. So even though I didn't have any traditional lettering education, there's no MFA in lettering as far as I know, and my MFA was very traditional, I started dabbling and I started drawing and I started experimenting and researching and seeing, who is out there who does some amazing lettering work, and I stumbled across.
Nikita,
Yep.
are you trying to share your full screen, or we're just seeing the PDF, the binder PDF, and that's not moving?
It's not moving?
No.
Oh. Okay.
There it goes. Now it's fine.
Oh, no.
Now it worked. Let's try again.
Oh, sorry, let's try this again.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan. Then Jim. I noticed it wasn't moving either. I was like, okay.
Thanks, guys. Apologies. Is this?
Yes. Now we're going. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So back to the lettering for a second. I had no traditional experience in lettering, so I started doing some research and seeing who out there in the world of design and illustration typography is a well-known lettering artist, and I found dozens and dozens and dozens lettering artists that inspire me. Yeah, I could sit here for a few hours and try to name them and try to remember all their names. But for me, my desire and to learn custom lettering and hand lettering contributed to my ambergram design work as well. And I always, here's an example of a logo that I just recently finished for a client. And for me, there's nothing, as Vitória said, for her, there's nothing better than a good brush pen. And for me, there's nothing more intimate than drawing a line on paper with a pencil. So all my work usually starts out on paper. And I love drawing on paper. So all the digital ambergrams you see in lettering, it still begins its life on paper. Like in this logo, for example, as well. Everything for me starts off in hard copy and print, and then it turns to the computer. Sometimes work such as this, which is a quote from one of my favorite bands, AC/DC, it just stays on paper because I see no need to hand letter it. Some ambergrams, such as this one, it's sketched out and then it's created in Illustrator or Photoshop. And like I said, some things just stay in the paper, pencil, or pen medium. My inspiration comes from quite a few artists, quite a few designers. And like Vitória said, she's inspired by her surroundings. You know, I am as well. Like if I see a movie title that I think that I can draw, not necessarily better, but differently, I tackle it. For example, this one that just came out, I just started doodling while I was watching the trailer, and this was the end result. This piece, some custom lettering for a print shop, a letterpress shop, piggyback letterpress in New York City. This is an ambergram that made sense to me, literally, so I just drew it one time.
Can you slow down a little bit, because I'm trying to still I'm still looking at these. So like, this is beautiful.
Sure. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but it takes me a little while to look at the ambergram and see how it works. So sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I can scroll much slower.
Okay.
This one I think I was sitting in an airport watching some entertainment news segment from Entertainment Weekly. So I said, okay, let me try to turn this into an ambergram. For me, a lot of times it's exactly how you begin. I just hear a random word and someone mentions something, and I think automatically before I even realize it, I wonder if this could make a good ambergram. So I try to do it. This is some custom lettering work that I did that unfortunately wasn't chosen, but that's the life of a designer, illustrator, lettering artist. You can draw 100 sketches, you can do 100 digital reiterations, and one of them is chosen. It's actually great. Here's an ambergram. I don't know if everybody can read it. Hopefully they can. This actually ended up in, I think it ended up in communication arts. I actually liked it, so I was happy about that. This is another one that I did, one of my favorite Russian authors. This is some more straightforward, traditional design work. This is where the design skills and typographic manipulation skills all kind of merge into one. So you take traditional lettering or traditional alphabet, you modify it a bit, and you make it work for the client. This one was done when I was actually overseas. I saw a Vespa on the side of the road, so of course naturally I had to draw an ambergram for it. This is another one that was just inspired by a photo that I saw somewhere of the beautiful state of Utah. This is some more straightforward typographic design and customization, and this was done for How Magazine, this recent issue that just came out a month ago. This was done in response to the unfortunate events in Orlando, and once again, as I was sitting there listening to the news and reading the news, I started doodling, and this came about. And this was done for How Conference. Once again, here's a rare case where an ambergram finds its way to a client. Now, ironically, when a client comes to me and says, "Hey, can you draw an ambergram for my business, for a logo, for my company?" I usually try to dissuade them, because unless an ambergram is 100% legible and readable to everybody, it would probably be a mistake to use it as the first visual that people associate with your business. And then there's some other client work, which is more straightforward lettering. Some of my sketches, which I said they stay on paper and pencil, not all of them are digitized. I think no one except me and maybe one or two other people agree with this, but I love Mondays. I'm not ashamed to admit it. This is a little abstract ampersand that I did, once again, just for myself, for lack of a better word, for practice. And this is I did something on my iPad, which is a completely different medium. I just started exploring when I was on my way back from Australia a few months ago, and just some random lettering, random practice, Merry Christmas monogram that I just created because I felt like it. So that's pretty much it. My work is a combination of straightforward type, manipulating existing type, and drawing something completely typographic from scratch.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you for sharing that.
All right.
Excellent. Great. Hey, I'm wondering about the ambergrams. How do you know what will work and what won't?
I think it's a matter of just experimenting and picking a word. Not necessarily a word that works, but picking a word and sitting down and doodling and seeing what works and what doesn't. And sometimes you find that the easiest words, that's 5-6 characters, don't work together. And sometimes you find that a word with 20 characters works perfectly as an ambergram. So it's a bit of a paradox.
But there's
So,
some things that you would think that doesn't work, but you got it to work. Like entertainment, I wouldn't think that would work, but you got it to work. I mean, is it basically any word can work if you just work out that problem enough? Or is it, are
not
there rules to say, no, there's some that it won't?
Well, there's no more traditional rules, but like in graphic design, there's traditional rules and principles of type. Same. You can apply the same thing to ambigrams because at its core, it's still type manipulation. So if your ambigram doesn't have a consistent weight stroke or consistent proportions, no matter what you do to it, it's not going to work. And if we go back to the very early roots of typography, we look at the uppercase Roman alphabet. We have the traditional diagonals, we have verticals, horizontals, we have the curves, and those are the basic elements which the letters are based on. And when you start looking at an ambigram or at a word that you want to turn into an ambigram, you look for those common trends. You look for shared verticals, for shared horizontals, shared diagonals, shared curves. And if you're lucky enough for some of them to match up, then you got an easy word to turn into an ambigram. And if some of them don't match up exactly, you have to massage it and fix it a little bit more. And it's just a matter of how persistent you want to be. And I'm very persistent sometimes.
You work well. Thank you so much for sharing. So if you guys have questions, please put them underneath the questions and answers tab, and we'll go through that list of questions. I'm interested in more of like the group, some of your education and background and your practice. So I'm just going to start with our two panelists. And if any of you are interested in jumping on to participate in answering the questions, please let me know and I will invite you. All I do ask is that you either have earbuds with a mic or you're in a quiet place and that you have a camera. If you don't have a camera, then we can't see you. So for Vitória and Nikita, I'm just wondering, let's talk a little bit about your background and your training. So you are self-taught, Vitória, but you have a background in language, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So your schooling in language, can you elaborate on that? Where did you get your degree from?
I went to university in Lisbon and studied during 4 years. I did a major in English and German language and literature, and a minor in Spanish language and literature. And then I thought I wanted to be a teacher. So I went back to university again and studied another 3 years to do my teaching practice. So I did a master in language teaching, but that was for English and Spanish only. I never taught German, but I could.
And so how does that influence your work? Obviously, language and typography are tied. It must fuel what you're doing.
They are. So I studied letters, but I should maybe have studied the other kind of letters, like typography. So I wasn't that... I was close, let's say that way.
But your degree helped, right? Yes, okay.
It sometimes helps because I can test the typeface in German. I know how the sharp S, the SZ should look like. That helps a bit. Also in Portuguese, we use accents, diacritics, so that also helps. I know how some of them should look like. Well, there are others that I don't, like Commercant and Karen, but well, it helps, it helps.
I bet. And why did you choose a script typeface?
I don't know.
That's harder than a Roman typeface, right?
Yeah, but so I had to practice with pencil and also brush pens. Scripts have been my favorite because I like that that feel of something that was done with your hand. Even if you change it afterwards a bit when you draw it digitally, but yeah. And I was really naive. I thought that I could easily make a script typeface, but it's really hard because connections are tough. Connections are the worst. I don't know how many times I had to change all of my connections in that typeface because you letters might be connected properly, but you have to connect them in a way that the spacing is right so that you won't have to do that much kerning. And yeah, right. But it takes time, but once you know it, it's a knowledge that will stay with you. So it's good.
And you've been working for a year on this typeface. So
yes.
So
yes.
It is a time investment.
And being self-taught, because I started this typeface on my own, can sometimes be hard because you don't have someone to guide you. You don't know what are the best what's the best information, where you can find that information. And I started working on FontLab and I read the whole manual, but there wasn't a need for that. It was a waste of time.
What's a manual? A software manual.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah. If anyone uses, people watching, I guess most of you use at least Photoshop, Illustrator, or even a type design program. You don't read the manual, right? You don't need. Who does that? I did.
I used to. I mean, Cork, I think, used to come with a manual. Yeah, they used to come with manuals when it was physical CDs on the software. So, no longer.
It's like reading those license agreements. Do you agree to the following 20 pages of text that nobody reads? Nobody reads that stuff.
Exactly. So, Nikita, will you talk a little bit about your education and how it relates to informing your practice now?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I started off with a BFA or BA in graphic information design, which is a fancy word title for graphic design. That's what they used in my university. First year and a half was wasted as a computer science major, which I won't talk about my grades or my GPA, which are horrible, but my pool game was fantastic because that's what I did most of the time. But once I found graphic design, I became completely enthralled with it. It became my passion. We talk about passion projects. Design became my passion. But when I finished undergrad, I still wasn't certain. I was certain I want to be a designer, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I wasn't sure where my skill level was. So I went to for a master's program at Savannah College of Art and Design, and my ego at the time was chopped down to size, to about this size. So, and I realized that, I have a long ways to go. So I just threw myself into design work, research, reading. And it's funny that Vitória talks about languages. One of my favorite books is The Unfolding of Language by Guy Duscher. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his German name correctly, but I was walking through a bookstore one day, I think Barnes & Noble, and I saw this beautiful cover designed with type and the Darwin scale of progression, or evolution rather. And at first I just loved the cover, but then I picked up the book and it was about language and tracking how languages made their way from continent to continent. And that was one of my favorite books. And right around that time I started working with typography, so it kind of matched up together. But I finished my Master of Fine Arts, and I came back to Connecticut. I got into teaching at my alma mater. So it's funny, I went from learning about design to teaching design. I didn't really work. I did a bit of freelancer in there, but I didn't do much work in the design field. So then I started, I learned about ambigrams, and at the same time I realized, oh, hey, I could draw my own typeface or draw my own letters. I don't always have to use a font that someone else made. So I started practicing, and my initial ambigrams and lettering attempts were awful and pathetic, and those are somewhere buried on one of my hard drives at home. But then as time went on, I continued to experiment more and more and draw more and more. Like any lettering artist, designer, typographer, illustrator, I have tons of sketchbooks at home with my old work. It's great to see the progression from the awful and pathetic to the new work, which is relatively decent now, which I like a lot more. So that was my training. as it relates to my client work, I combine everything, my traditional training, which is, the traditional logo design, layout, poster design, bookmaking. I combine it with typography, and, custom lettering and ambigrams. And it's all just kind of a big mess thrown in a pot, but the ingredients kind of thrown together, but sometimes it always works out somehow.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, let's go through some of the questions, and then I'm going to fill in with questions in case there's something that I'm interested in. So we have a question from Christopher. So before I get started, I was wondering if anyone wants to join us. If you guys want to jump on, let's see, Ryan does. Ryan, I'm going to invite you on now. Okay. And also, if you guys are going to jump on, please have a pencil and paper. We're going to invite some lettering challenges from the group if you guys want to ask anyone to draw anything. Otherwise, I will ask. So Ryan, I'm inviting you on. It's going to be a full house on screen. Let's see if you can get on here. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Best hands.
What's happening?
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question from Christopher, and then we'll get answers from the group here, okay? All right, so Christopher asked, any advice for left-handed letterers? I follow several artists on Instagram and try to mimic what I see, but the tools always seem to have a different agenda. It's frustrating.
Well, I'm not left-handed, but I know that Matt Vergottis is. I don't know, you probably have heard him. He has a Skillshare class. Well, I'm forgetful. Memory is not the best, but I think that he talks a bit how to approach lettering when you are left-handed. So I hope that helps.
Okay. Any other comments?
I'm also righty, so I can offer no advice whatsoever. But from my personal experience, if I don't want to smudge lettering, I put a piece of paper under my arm, and it works great. So I assume it may work well for left-handers as well. That's about the only bit of advice I can offer.
Same here. I'm also right-handed. My son, who I'm teaching how to write right now, is left-handed. I don't know if I can offer any advice from that, but I do know Matt. I pronounce it Vergottis. I don't know Vergottis. But sometimes I watch his work. The guy's really amazing, and I get jealous because I can tell that the angle that his hand is on, he's able to make shapes that I can't mimic from the other side. And his work is so beautiful. I'm like, oh, man, if I could only, get that angle right, there's just no way I could figure that out. But everybody should definitely check him out in his work. And he's done some really interesting videos where it's not just recording what he does, but he adds music and an interpretation, an artistic interpretation of what it is he's actually writing. It's definitely worth looking at. He's very, very good.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay.
Matt Vergottis is fantastic. Matt Vergottis is the guy I was talking about. I think it has to do with the way you hold your hand. You have to hold it in a way that it doesn't get in the way. Like he does it, so it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, if you do lettering from right to left, if you're doing, for example, Turkish hand lettering, it's you read it from right to left, not from left to right. Do you have the same issue if you're a lefty?
Probably.
That's a good question.
So maybe it's good to be a lefty if you have to letter in Turkish. Who knows?
That'd be pretty cool.
That's the answer.
That's the perfect answer.
You need another. The answer is you need another language to letter.
Yeah, just change the language if you are lefty or righty.
So I have an answer for you, Christopher. I'm not a letterer or a calligrapher at all, but I will be interviewing Matt. Matt will be on the show in 2 months. So when that's planned, I will definitely ask him to see if he can do a demo for us. Maybe he can give us a couple lessons, and that will help. So, but unfortunately, you'll have to wait a couple months to get that question answered. Wow. You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm sorry if you hear them yelling. It's just again on camera.
Is that one of those Egyptian short hair, no hair cats, or is it just a very short hair cat?
It's a short hair cat. It's called a Cornish Rex, actually. Yep. I don't know if they're Egyptian or not, but yeah.
Oh, very, very cute. Oh, kitty. Oh, there we go. That's an answer. Get me out of here.
So Bernardo, I was wondering if you can give us a lettering challenge. If you want to ask the panel up here to draw anything offhand. Looks like Ryan is already ready to go.
Ready to go, yeah.
So Bernardo or anyone else, if you have any suggestions, Christopher or Carlin, Heather, Alyssa, let us know. Ampersand, very good. Thank you, Martin. Okay, guys, an ampersand.
An ampersand. Is it like who shows first wins?
No, it's not. It's not. Oh, Bernardo, that's good. We'll have to use that for the next one.
Just a real quick one.
Oh, very nice.
Nice.
No pressure.
My hands are actually shaking. I'm nervous.
Oh, sorry, Ryan. I love your setup though, Ryan. You have everything, every tool possible. Imagine.
And just conveniently in camera also.
Exactly.
How convenient.
Thank you, Alyssa, for your contribution. We'll definitely use it for the next ones.
Yeah. To be in the effort of from backwards. Here's some fun ones.
Very cool. I used a brush pen there. What kind of pen were you using?
Sharpie.
A Sharpie.
I love these guys. And little trick, if any of you guys like working with these, if you take an X-Acto knife to it, you won't feel bad about it because they're so cheap. And you cut a wedge in the middle, you can get a nice little inline.
Oh, nice.
No, that's a good trick.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. You won't feel bad about sacrificing it.
All right, there's mine. Since I only have a lowly pen and no pencils or brush pens here, I just doodle
Very
and
nice.
ampersand.
Thank you.
Okay.
Victoria, what
Just
are you
a
using?
Status.
Oh, wait. We're not going to jump to that one yet, but
Oh,
that's
sorry.
okay. That's okay. That's okay. What tool are you using, Victoria?
I'm using a Tombow brush pen. It's one of my favorites. The only thing is that the tip fray very easily.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm always buying these.
Those are really nice. I love those. I grew up on those Tombow pens.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Cannot get enough of those. Okay, we're going to jump to the next questions. And then thank you, Ryan, for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Ryan.
having me.
We're going to
Nice
say
to meet you.
goodbye. We're going to see if
Love you
anyone else
guys.
wants to jump
Bye.
on. Okay,
Bye.
bye. Thank you, Ryan. All right, anyone else want to join us? Let us know. We're going to go to the next question, which actually happens to be Ryan's question. So, Christopher, if you want to join us, Bernardo, you want to jump on? Oksana, that would be great. So let us know. Let me see if Martin, if you want to jump on, let us know. Okay, so the next question is actually from Ryan. So Ryan asks, how have you dealt with or eliminated the amount of time you spend on a project? When does refining work turn into a useless noodling? Good question. Either one of you guys.
Sorry?
Did you hear me? Or you're reading it?
All right. Well, I guess I can answer.
Okay,
I can go first, I guess.
great.
We all know that it's very hard for us as designers, as creative people, to stop editing our work, to stop refining, to stop pulling that busy handle or the anchor handle and making it just a pixel more round or a pixel square. It's a matter of self-control and actual willpower and willing to step away from the project and just taking a break and looking at it with fresh eyes in a few hours or a day. Because then you can look at it more objectively and say, oh, well, I think this is finished. I think this is good. Or if you're really not sure, have a few of your close friends who are designers and creatives to take a look at it and give you some feedback. Because sometimes, I don't know if you can say that refining can turn to useless noodling, because refining by itself, you make something better. You can continue to make something better and improve it, but there's a fine line to where those improvements are only noticeable to you as the designer and not the client or not the general public.
It's good. Yeah, I agree. And maybe, Ryan, when you're thinking of useless noodling, maybe it's, you know,
I love
it's
that phrase,
overfinished.
useless noodling.
Useless noodling. Guys, if you have any answers as well, please put them into the chat bar. We'd love to know what you think as well. Victoria, what is your answer in that one?
I agree with Nikita. sometimes you just get, it happens to me sometimes that I get obsessed and can't stop, but to leave things for a while, maybe take a walk and come back to it. Sometimes you come back and with the right answer without even knowing how. You just need to take some time off, and that really helps. And with my typeface, that's really hard to do because sometimes it happens that, well, type design is a lot, involves a lot of problem solving, and I need to find a solution, and I get really obsessed if I just can't leave it when I have that solution. And sometimes I work like a whole day on just one character, and well, but yeah, I know it's good, but I not always follow that advice of taking some time off. It's hard to manage that, because on one hand, I want to get it finished, but on the other hand, well, it's not easy.
But Nikita mentioned showing people or getting feedback. So, and you had mentioned also that you use mentors to help you. Do you use those other eyes like Laura's to tell you when you're finished, or to train your eyes so you know when you're finished?
Yes, totally. So Nicole, we usually meet every 3 weeks, and she has a lot of experience as a type designer, and she obviously sees what I can't see. She has a very, very trained eye, and she has been teaching me also how to look at things, where to look at, yeah. And also Laura has seen my typeface and has given me precious feedback. And also some other type designers like Lila Simmons. She was here on the chat once, and Ali Paul. Yeah. People are just, I can't explain it, but they are just awesome. You just ask them and they help you. It's really awesome.
That's the great thing about the internet, isn't it?
And speaking of challenges, Bernardo earlier posted the word verklempt, and I just...
Oh, you're jumping on.
I just doodled
wow.
verklempt ambergram. So I don't know if
Turn
it works.
Over. Wait, turn it over. Very cool.
It's magic.
Nice. Has it ever happened to you that you couldn't make an ambigram?
Oh, many times. And like I said, I think I could fill up a few sketchbooks with all the failed attempts, and some you go back 2 months later, and sometimes they magically work, and sometimes you go back a year or two later and still doesn't work. So just like with your type connections, I'm sure you try a number of different connections because before you find one that works, works in every application, every instance. So,
but like with practice, that's why you're so fast now, right? Because you've been doing it for such a long time.
Yeah, and sometimes it works well. I'm sure. Speaking of nitpicking, I could sit there, I could finish this completely on paper in the computer and sit there for hours dissecting it, saying, "Oh, this could be closer, and this could be further. Move this down, move this up." And I forget it. I'm too tired. I'm going home.
But what's interesting about the ambigrams is that it's not necessarily about perfection. It's not about it looking good. You're not noodling it till it looks good. You're noodling it so it's readable. So you're making sure that it's functional on both sides, right?
Yeah, no, noodling. Ryan, I think, thank you for that. The great word, and thank you for making me laugh. No, it's definitely it's not about perfection. Sometimes it's about experimenting, because who knows if a combination of characters that worked or didn't work in one word, it could translate well to another word. So it's like, we recycle ideas. In Vitória, I'm sure you do this as well. You recycle and keep a track of some old ideas that may have not worked. Because if a connection works for one character, who knows, who says it's not going to work for another one? So.
It's true. Okay. Thank you, Ryan, for asking that question. We'll go on to Heather's question. And then again, if anyone wants to jump in and hang out with us on screen, I know everyone is shy, but we invite you on today. Vitória, you mentioned practicing your lettering a minimum of 2 hours a day when you were starting out. How long, in terms of weeks and years, did this training period last until you began getting noticed and getting clients?
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of patience, I guess. Let me think. I think a year, and that client found me on Instagram. So sharing is a good thing.
Sharing's a good thing, but you also have to be practicing so that the work looks good.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, definitely. So it was a year that you trained yourself by doing about 2 hours a day minimum.
Yes.
So how about maximum?
Minimum.
Okay.
Maximum. There were many days during that year that I would wake up, have breakfast, practice, have lunch, practice, have dinner, practice, and go to sleep.
I sense a pattern.
Wow.
I was really having fun, so it's good. And I also was trying to compensate because I don't have a background in design whatsoever. So yeah, you try to compensate. It's not that I don't wanted to have a background in design or in typography. It just happened that way. And yeah, so it was the compensating thing. I don't wanted to feel like an imposter, and I wanted to to get better and better and as quick as possible.
Right.
So I was practicing in a very focused way.
Very cool. Okay. I hope that answered, Heather, your question. So let's do one quick, we'll do, Alyssa had mentioned Stardust. So if you guys want to do that one very quickly, I know that Vitória, you already got started.
Okay.
This one? Okay, yes.
Nice.
That's really
S's are tough.
So you're saying that it's very easy with a brush pen, correct? Or quick?
Yes. This one is already starting to fray. It's very fast. I try not to use that much pressure, but yeah, they fray very easily.
Excellent. I'm wondering now if Nikita is actually trying an ambergram. All right, if you guys have any questions, please add them in. Otherwise, I have some questions. And if Heather, you're interested in jumping on, or Rosie or Alyssa, if you want to jump on. Martin, if you want to jump on, please let us know. So right now we are waiting for Stardust. Ah, yes, Alyssa, I hear you. You're at work.
You can't beat work. You have to take time off for these things.
Bernardo, how about you, Bernardo? Let me know if you want to jump on. See, Bernardo is also a type designer. And then someone earlier was saying that they're a type designer. Was that Andre? Andre, let us know if you want to jump on.
All right.
And Eric. Oh my gosh. Stardust. This one's a little tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's could use quite a bit more work.
Very cool. Now all the flourishes, how are you choosing to place those?
It's a matter of just figuring out what works. You know, I know as designers we love negative space. I hate to follow the idea of, oh, there's some negative space, let's fill it up with a flourish. But sometimes it just happens where everything falls into place. And actually, if you remember that example I showed earlier, the Slav power lettering, which was one of my earlier ones. I don't know if you want me to quickly bring it on. Yeah, let me bring it up again.
Okay.
I actually showed a Type Thursdays in New York City a couple of weeks ago. And one of the comments that I got, here, let me share it right now so you guys will be able to see it. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
So you see a little flourish right below the AV that fills up a negative space. I actually broke my own rule and I put that flourish in there because I thought that space could be filled up tactfully. And yeah, I try to make it match the weight of the typeface, the angles of the terminal, the terminations, terminals, and it just worked out fine. Sometimes flourishes are fantastic because they just happen to work. And sometimes, of course, you just fill up the empty space and you see that it's extra fluff and you just end up throwing it away. So I'm very, very careful with swashes. Sometimes they're just not needed.
Right, especially if they interfere with the readability, but they're mostly to balance out the mark altogether, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, got it.
Absolutely.
Great.
Was it Picasso that was it Rodin or Picasso said I chip away from a sculpture until nothing is left that's not needed and everything that's needed is left, or something like that. I don't remember who said that quote exactly. It was one of the famous artist sculptors. So yeah, we don't need the extra. Yeah, we don't need the extra fluff sometimes.
Exactly. So Christopher, since you booked a conference room, then you have some quiet. If you want to jump on in, that would be awesome. Okay, so I'm going to answer Heather's question, and then we're going to get to Drew. So Heather has a question for Nikita. Vitória mentioned how important having membership was for her. Did you also have any mentors along the way?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think I've ever had any traditional mentors, but I do have and still have some designers and some professors from my schools that have helped me quite a great deal. One of them was a professor, Rhonda. She was my very first professor in my graduate school, and she's the one that chopped my ego down to size quite a bit. And I still think that was the most helpful class I've ever taken in all of my college, all my educational career. So she helped with that. There are some anagram pioneers like Scott Kim, John Langdon, that I looked up to and I still look up to, and they do amazing lettering, and not just lettering but design work as well. And Scott Kim does amazing puzzles and games, so it's another level of creativity. So I do seek advice from some very specific people, which inspire me, and a lot of work inspires me. A lot of designers, illustrators, typographers. So I've never had an actual real mentor, but I kind of sample from a little bit from everybody and a lot from a few. So hope that answers your question, Heather.
I hope that answers. Great. Excellent. Okay, Christopher, got it. Not a problem. We don't want you to talk about type. Hey. All right. So I got a question here from Drew. He is asking, are you both self-employed or do you work for agencies or employers?
I'm just working on my typeface exclusively. So self-employed.
I'm self-employed freelancer, and I'm actually after this is done, I'm heading to this agency to do some work on site for a short 3-day project. So self-employed, freelance, fun-employed, as I sometimes call it. So.
Fun-employed.
Yes.
That's a great way of saying it. Okay, so I have just, let's see. I know that Bernardo had asked for, let's see, Christopher just said, were they self-employed during their training? Were you guys self-employed during your training?
I was, so before starting with calligraphy, lettering, and all that stuff, I was trying to be a web designer, and was doing some web design.
Wow, what a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, I had to experiment quite a few things to see what I wanted to do.
And I freelanced a bit, but I had some other non-design jobs. I was a bouncer, a furniture mover, and a server. So I've shifted from quite a few industries.
Christopher says he's full-time in-house and juggling is not easy. I don't think anything is easy. Everyone has at least 2 jobs or more now. Whether you have a full-time job or not, you always have these passion projects and side projects and taking on, extra freelance stuff. So I think everyone is juggling a lot of tasks, which is why there's so many tools, online tools, and freelancers. And
I agree with Christopher. Juggling is definitely not easy.
It is not easy. It's not easy for anyone. No.
Start off with something soft like tennis balls, and then move on to something that's heavier and more damaging to the floor if you drop it.
Oh, so you're meaning literally. All right.
Literally, yes.
All right. So Christopher ended off with truth. So I'm going to ask you guys to letter the word truth.
Ugh. Come on, Christopher.
Truth. Yeah. We'll finish off with that. And I want to ask you guys in the room if you'll put into the chat room what lettering practice you have. Do you have any rituals? Do you do lettering for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 2 hours every day? Is it once a week? Let us know what your habits are. Bernardo, I'm going to invite you.
Here it is.
Ooh, beautiful.
Ah, you're too quick.
I told you, brush pens.
Brush pens are fast, yes.
I should start looking into those. Here's my awkward attempt.
Wow. Very nice.
Pretty impressive for especially for the time.
I know,
You are
so
really quick.
Christopher says, I keep reminding myself that Einstein and Michelangelo had the same amount of hours in the day as I do. Nice. That's great. Hey, Bernardo.
Hello.
Bernardo, how's it going?
Hey, everyone.
Bernardo's from Philly. So
Motown Philly back again.
What was that?
Motown Philly back again.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan says, when I began, I had to change my goal from trying to do something that looked good to simply running every pen I had out of ink. That forced me to work faster and iterate to avoid boredom. That's great. Drew says, I haven't in weeks. I have a daily Google Calendar reminder to draw, so I need to change that to letter. Yeah, I have that. I always have my calendars go off, but there's still things I just can't get to.
I have the calendars, I just don't follow up with them.
Right, I know, exactly. So let's do this next question here with Bernardo from Oksana. Do you guys doodle while talking on the phone? Are those regular doodles like many other people, or do you rather kind of lettering art?
Always. I'm always doodling. I talk to my mom a lot on Skype, and she's always asking me, "Are you working?" Yeah, I'm doodling. And then she gets worried that she's interrupting my work, but I'm just doodling.
Okay, Nikita, you want to go?
Yeah, unfortunately I have designer AD, which a lot of us have. So when I chat to someone on the phone or even in person, sometimes I find myself almost subconsciously doodling on something. If some idea is stuck in my head or some suggestion visually, and it's disturbing sometimes when you're talking to someone on Skype or GChat, and all of a sudden your head dips and you start drawing, and the person's wondering, are you falling asleep or are you doodling? So, yeah, I'm guilty of doing that.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
but
exactly what I was talking about.
Oksana said the phone. So if you're on the phone, they can't see you, right? Do you doodle while you're on the phone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Bernardo.
I actually also have a lot of ADD, so I try not to doodle while I'm on the phone because then I'll just go off in the deep end. But most of my notes are written. So as a designer, I doodle less and I write more. So I don't know if that's normal or weird.
Okay, so then I will ask you if you guys have any. Thank you, Oksana. Oksana, do you have any word or letters that you would like them to? You want to challenge them with? Let's see if she can come up with something. If not, I'll come up with.
Let's see. Has anybody run out of ink yet? As per Ryan's comment.
Ryan, do you have anything to challenge them with? A word or a phrase? Let us know. Let's see. Ryan says, I've been called out by business people at meetings for doodling. They assumed I was doodling. I wasn't paying attention, but in fact, it helps me to focus. It's interesting. Hey, Rosie, tell us if there is a word or phrase that you can challenge us with. Alyssa says, yeah, but Michelangelo and all the other greats started young, had mentors, patrons, and some, like Raphael, literally grew up in art academy. That's true. Focus. Ryan is yelling, focus. Okay, guys. Do you have paper on you, Bernardo?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, great. Excellent. Rosie says to look for the answer in the type.
Oh, I thought you
word,
said Spock, not Smock.
No,
Oh,
focus, focus.
excited.
Wait. We're doing focus first. See, Christopher says the favorite word is smock. Reminds me of childhood. That is interesting. Focus, very nice. A huge S. Beautiful. Thank you, Victor. Oksana came up with a good one.
Oh, sarcasm. That's an easy one.
Christopher's to say, focus on smocks.
Yeah, I don't want to do ambigrams anymore, so I just quickly.
Okay. Very nice.
I lost my focus and stopped halfway.
Oh, that's funny. Brilliant, brilliant. All right,
That's great.
Drew
Thank you
wrote
so much.
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Drew, I don't like you right now. It's gonna pass, but right now I don't like you.
Do the ambigram for that.
No.
Oh.
Actually, somebody already did
Ouch.
that. So somebody beat me to it a number of years ago.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's a friend from Connecticut. Her name is Rebecca. She's also an ambigram designer. So she did a pretty nice job on that word.
Very cool. All right, we're gonna finish
Can I
up.
ask-
Go ahead, Bernardo.
No, can I ask a question? So for Nikita, I'm looking at ambigrams. It seems like there's like a very tight visual vocabulary for ambigrams. Do you think that's a functional thing, or do you think that's not even an issue?
Say that first part again. I didn't catch that.
It seems that ambigrams have a very strong visual vocabulary. Like strokes have a certain look and shapes have a certain look. Is that something on purpose, or is that just random observation?
It's not really. I mean, can't say that it's random. You know, if you look at a traditional typeface, and I think Vitória will support me on that, and any type designer will support me on that. Yeah, you have a consistent element throughout each typeface. You know, the same bold and the same strokes, or horizontals, of serifs, loops, etc. So there's a certain consistency that has to exist in ambigrams, because at the end it's just a typographic design. It's very manipulated, but at the end it still has to follow the rule and principles of typography, of classic typography. So it comes back full circle to traditional typeface.
Does that help, Bernardo?
Yep.
Well, thank you, Bernardo, for joining us on screen today.
Thank you. Oh, the hands.
Talk to you later, Bernardo. Literally. Bye. Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I really appreciate it. You guys are drawing something else right now?
Nope.
You want to show?
Sarcasm?
The sarcasm. Beautiful.
I give up.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I really
Thank you, guys.
appreciate it. And thank you so much, Nikita.
Thank you.
And also Vitória and
Victoria,
Rosie.
Rachel, thank you.
And that
Thank
was
you.
good conversation. I would love to just keep going with the panel discussions every once in a while. So thank you again. Yeah, bye, guys. You have a good day. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.